The red light is the oil indicator level. If the light is out, that means we have fallen below the add mark. The bottom two LEDs, the most bottom green one is main power available. The next one above that is fuel injector 12 volt available coming off the relay side. Right now it's warming up a little bit. It's 76 degrees. This is the scan gauge 2 indicator. It has different options. Each display, there's 4. We could change it. That's intake air. The one above it is radiator water fluid. Radiator temperature. I forget what that meant. This is gallons per hour being fed into the injector system. Ignition timing. Load in I think this load is in pascals or kilopascals. Open loop because we're warming up right now. This is the O2 sensors. There's a left and a right bank forward O2 sensor. There's nothing in the rear because this is not in the original vehicle. Once it reaches about 100 degrees, I think, is when it goes into closed loop. RPM 700 holds up all by itself. Nothing unique about that. It's all factory settings from the Silverado engine. At the original fuel gauge, that works with the new tank. It's not exactly 100%, but none of these cars were ever. The odometer shows 17,000. I'm sure it's turned over at least one time. The odometer cable isn't connected to the 460LE or is it 4L60E transmission because I don't have the special tail housing. Parking brake. It's not quite warmed up yet. I'm going to bring it out a little bit so that the exhaust goes out. Column shift original. Auto positions are pretty much right on. I'm backing up now. Hard time getting out of here because my other car is in the way and I can't fall into the mulch, break the plumbing, the plumbing of the sprinklers, that is, not the plumbing of the car. Alright, we're at 121 degrees and still in open loop. I forget the exact transition point though. Let me stop this and I'll restart it because the file is going to get too big. Okay, we're back at 130 degrees. We're in closed loop now. So what that means is the O2 sensors are telling the fuel injectors what to do and what the condition of the exhaust is right at the output of the 2 stock manifolds. All right, so let's put it in drive. Let's take off. I'm going to try to give you a slightly different shot. By the way, I have the pieces for this in very good shape. I just didn't put it on. You see the speedometer, tach, and all that work. We have manifold absolute pressure, miles per gallon instantaneous. There's speed again, there's RPM. Throttle position sensor. This is the O2 sensors. This is probably the left one, and there's the right one. Horsepower output. Torque in foot-pounds. This is oil life. Doesn't work, of course, because I don't have the body management computer of the original car. I forget what that meant. Forget what that is also. And this is the transmission fluid, 78 degrees. Very useful. Very useful. Air-fuel ratio, 14.6. Earlier it must have been 14.3 or something as it was warming up. Burns a little richer. I figure out what that is. And then back to boats. Miles an hour. The speed on this is very accurate. It is right on, plus or minus half a mile an hour. I've checked it multiple different ways. Can't remember how I checked it though, honestly. The steering is tighter than what the original power steering unit was. A lot lighter. You can do a one finger. This one's going to be a little harder, especially when the car's not in motion. And the reason for that is the gearbox is a CPP, was a Classic Performance down in Southern California. I could do one finger right now, but it's only because the car's moving. The spring back works. I haven't, it is what it is. I talked to their tech support and they said, yes, it is tighter, and it's done that because that way there's very little play in the steering. I don't know if you could see the car move, but it's very precise and has real good road feel out on the freeway. That's really important for everyday drivers, especially for me. I drive very large vans and I'm used to very good steering. Show you the wiper blade. I think I mentioned there's a knob right down there. That is the delayed wiper unit. It's mounted right behind that where the knob is. It just makes it a lot easier because, you know, the on-off for the wiper is up there. It's not on the column like a modern car. It's just a lot more work. We have all the gears here, so if I shift this down, it'll go down to, right now it's in D overdrive. If I go down one more, it'll be on D, which means it will not go into torque converter lockup. So you get a 1-to-1 ratio. Right now in this mode, it's DO, so that we'd get torque converter lockup, so we get a 0.7 to 1 ratio at the output shaft of the transmission. And then that rear end is a 2.56 rear end with a 26-inch set of tires in the back. All right, let's go. Let's see if I can take off a little bit faster. Car's about warmed up. 195 is the computer set point. Right now it's a cool day. It's not very hot. The electric fan is not on. The electric fan is on with an indicator on that third green LED. So if I turn the AC on, it's going to use that fan. And the compressor will kick on in a second. There you go. So it just kicked on. I don't know if you can hear that fan. It's pretty loud. It's one of those 16-inch aftermarket ones from Cyclone, from Summit Racing. But it's mounted securely, properly on a Flex FLEX branded housing, a shroud, fan shroud, radiator shroud. Never run without a shroud. It's a inefficient cooling. Sorry, I didn't have a camera person, so I'm just doing a quickie one here. The ride's pretty smooth. The track's real well. Only thing is because it has Dell aluminum bushings on the tubular suspension, you could feel everything. It is a trade-off. Look at the little speed here. This thing accelerates, a lot of torque. I don't drive it fast all the time because this is my everyday driver, but just for testing. And not only that, I get caught speeding real easy around here. I live in Brentwood. This is the Brentwood area. give you a view of the back, what it looks like. Okay, I'm going to pause it so it doesn't. Alright, I'm going to make a U-turn here. The turn radius is a little better than factory, well, at least what I remember when I was a kid. Only because the tubular suspension stop limits are a little different. They're probably, on the steering I get about, in degrees, maybe 5 degrees more turn. So it does a tighter turn. But I have some extremely wide front tires, the black ones that don't have the nice rims. They're just factory on 15-inch steel. Wait a minute, I'm not focused. Hang on. Here we go. So with the wider tires, the the scrub radius is a little bit more rougher. But if you put the normal size on there, which is going to be a 225 millimeter, 16-inch, doesn't really matter. The turning is really good. Yes, the mirrors are not classic, Chevy or Pontiac, but it does the job. As an everyday driver, especially when cars are flying at 100 miles an hour next to me, you gotta have a set of good mirrors. This windshield, I don't know if you can see that, has the original antenna built into it, so the aftermarket Pioneer stereo runs off of that, so the radio works no problem. All the electrical wiring underneath this dashboard is original, but the new air conditioning unit, the new ECU, main power, is all supplied by new 10 gauge high quality insulated electrical wire, color coded of course, but of course the color code, we've got brown and different colors. I basically reuse some 48 volt wiring that we use in our surplus yard and telephone system, but it's good quality wire, heavy. We don't have any poor ground issues or anything. I made sure of that. I grew up with that type of problem. I didn't want to ever have it again. I missed my turn. Okay, I'm going to pause. Okay. Let's see if I can make a U-turn in the middle of the street without killing myself here. It might be a little too close to the intersection. Oh, there's a car behind me, so let's abort that one. I make a 3-point. This is very embarrassing. I'm missing the turn to my house. Alright, back it up. Drives like a regular car, pretty smooth. I think I mentioned the rear end. It does have its original gears and everything. The bearings have been replaced, but also and disc brakes are put on. But the pinion to ring lash or end play is hasn't been adjusted. It's original. There's nothing excessive on there. I am using Mobil 1 synthetic oil. I think it's 75 by 95 weight oil. Maybe it's a little lighter than it should be. You get a little banging depending on how you drive it, but it's not excessive. But it is something which is a next item that I would have liked to bring in a new rear, or at least a rebuilt one. The problem is, I think the 2.56 to 1 pinion ring pinion ratio, pinion to ring gear ratio. I don't know where to buy that. I think I'm gonna do factory, or I'm not really sure. I'm not a good rear end type person. I would take it to a transmission shop. turn. Let's see, right now we're running at try to show the temperature, which I'm not able to. Too much glare. There we go. 190 degrees. Coming to a stop. Let me tell you what it has on this here. You could push the home button under trip. Tank, we've used 0.95 gallons. The average is 14.1 because there's been a lot of just warming it up and just taking around the block. So our little test drive is 8.9 miles a gallon, mainly because it's warm up and it was doing some pretty poor stop and go. The height rear and front rear, sorry, is level. The alignment's been done at Big O. They did a very good job.